Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, guys, first of all, I think we need to start with this. First of all, I've been banned off TikTok again. So I will be streaming on YouTube. I will be streaming on X, normal times. Today was a little bit late because I want to try and get the latest from the Manchester, as I understand it, the Manchester airport alleged attackers. As I understand it, they're due to be sentenced today. So I've come on a little bit later, hoping I was going to get that. But as I understand it, they were in court this morning at 10:30. So we're going to be talking about that today. And also, excuse me. And also from a message I put out like a couple of days ago, I think I put it out on Sunday, so like 2 days ago or whatever. I believe, and if you go and read the comments, you will believe as well that what day was it? The Sunday morning, basically, I think the 27th or the 26th of this month, something happened in the United Kingdom that affected a vast amount of people. I'm calling it an attack. I don't know what type of attack it was, but I'm 100% positive, guys, something happened. I don't know what, I don't know how, I don't know how many people this affected, but what I do know is something was there 100%, guys, okay? I do want to keep focusing and switching back to the Manchester attackers because their verdict is due out today, guys, all right? Well, stop. The court convened. It was supposed to be out yesterday. So the court, look, guys, I'm not a legal expert, but if it's tanks, bombs, guns, munitions, aircraft, drones, I'm all over that. British legal system, not so up to date with that. But as I understand it, the jury had a break on Friday. And listen, guys, for me, this is a cut and shut. I like this to 10 seconds. That's all I need to see. And my mind's up. My mind is made up. But anyway, let's give the legal process its due course. Now, they were due back in yesterday morning at 10:30 to give the result or the verdict, I guess. Now, that verdict has not been reached. And the longer this goes on, the longer this verdict is delayed, the better it looks like it's going to be a not guilty charge. And that's the reality. If it was a cut and shut case, if it was easy to say, yep, these guys are guilty, there you go, off you go. Do not pass go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do go directly to jail. If that was the cut case. But the later this goes on, guys, the more likely it is that this is going to be a not guilty verdict. Listen, whether this is not guilty, it doesn't matter. This is going to drive an absolute, it's going to throw an absolute split in society. I don't know who can say that these two gentlemen did not assault the police officers. Look, guys, and I wasn't there at the court. I'm not claiming to be in the courtroom, but from the images I've seen, the defense the defense speeches that I've seen, I just don't see. So the Manchester attackers basically are claiming that they acted in self-defense because the arresting officer was too aggressive. I don't know how that goes, guys. I don't know how that goes. I don't know if they're going to get off on a technicality. I don't know where it's going. I don't know how the barristers framed this, but the jury are making their decision now. Like I said earlier, if this was a cut and shut case and it was an easy decision, then it would have been guilty straight away. The fact that this is lingering on, it is going more towards the side, in my opinion at least, it's going more towards the side of not guilty. But it doesn't matter. If these guys get given the guilty verdict, people are going to cry racism and police brutality, and there's going to be a kickoff. If they get given not guilty, then we're going to see we're going to perceive two-tier policing. We're going to be that perception of two-tier policing whereby Lucy Connolly, and again, you know what, guys, there is Lucy Connolly, but there's a lot more. Where Lucy Connolly, 2 years, 7 months in jail for a tweet. Two gentlemen allegedly, although we'll see what happens. We've seen all the footage throwing hand bombs at police, and they walk. Now that's not the end of it, because even if they get the guilty verdict, they've then got to wait for the sentencing. So as far as I'm concerned, guys, it doesn't really matter what this verdict is. It's going to end the same way. Let me just do a quick search, guys. I need to keep refreshing this screen because I know that they're in. Hang on, I know they're in court today. So I know they're in I know they're in court today. Yeah, nothing on the mainstream yet, guys. Nothing on the mainstream about that, but I will keep you guys updated. I'm sure as soon as this breaks and as soon as there's information, it's going to be plastered all over the mainstream, guys. So I was on a little bit late. Anyway, let me jump up and get some comments, sorry. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, the attack did happen at the weekend. I'm convinced that the UK was under some sort of attack this week, this Sunday just gone. I'm convinced in my own mind. I don't know what kind of attack that was. And remember, the Manchester airport verdict, as we understand it, it could be released today. We was told it was going to be yesterday. Now we're going to be told it could be today. The longer this goes on, guys, the longer this goes on, the more likely that those guys will get off. And let's just, let me get to the comments, but let me just throw this in there quickly, guys. If they do get off and claim that that was self-defense, all right, fine, whatever, absolutely fine, absolutely fine. That means that every protester, everybody then who somebody tries to arrest them, if they fight back, self-defense. You see where I'm going with that, guys? Do you see the intricacies of this decision? Do you see how much of a landmark case this actually is? Can you actually see now? There's no good decisions here, guys. There's no good decisions. Debbie Dennis is saying, morning, everyone. Morning to you, Debbie Dennis, and morning, everyone. AJ Aesthetics is saying, did you see Tommy Robinson knock someone out yesterday at a train station? Could be in big trouble. I saw some guy laid out on the floor. And Tommy Robinson storming up and down. I didn't actually see what happened. I don't know what happened, guys. But look, I've had these instances before where people come up to you and they're being like really leery, and you react, and then you're in trouble, and it's just like, right, just leave me alone. Absolutely, leave me alone. Let me go about my business, and you'll be okay. Start poking the bear, and that's when you go to sleep. But yeah, I've actually seen the one where he's in, I think he's in France or something, and there's a guy saying he's going to do things to his daughter, and I think he gives him a right cross and drops him as well. Fair play to Tommy. He's got, apparently he's got a good right cross. Tim Linsky is saying, good day to you, Tim Linsky. Four Paws are saying, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you, Four Paws. Zoe Dean. Oh, hang on. Yeah, so Zoe Dean is talking to AJ Aesthetics and saying, you know what, maybe they're just going to find something to slap him with anyway. And then Zoe Dean is saying they got. Yeah, so Zoe Dini is talking about the Manchester attackers. Guys, listen, we are expecting the result, the verdict. Like any moment now, we could get that verdict. However, the longer that verdict takes to come to that, the longer it takes to get to that verdict, the more likely it is that it's going to be a not guilty. Guys, we are living in absolute wild times. I mean, have you seen the footage? Literally, guys, have you seen the footage of those guys throwing hand bombs? I don't know how that's acceptable. But guys, listen, remember, if this is a not guilty, just like, everybody's thinking, oh, they should be there's no good results here, guys. There's no good results. Like, do you know what I've just remembered? I've just thought, ladies and gentlemen, because we're not streaming on TikTok, I can drink my coffee. I can drink my coffee in front of you guys now. Because we're not streaming on TikTok. Listen, guys, if you guys are on, can you please hit the buttons, like, comment, subscribe, share my stuff, guys. That's the biggest one you can do. Share my stuff, because the algorithm, when my stuff's getting shared, it really shows that the message is getting out there. But anyway, guys, listen, let's get back on track. The Manchester attackers, they could have their. I'm just keep refreshing this screen because I know it could be any minute. Hang on. No, nothing yet. The Manchester attackers could have their verdict today. Also, I'm claiming it, guys. I don't know what it was, but I'm calling it the United Kingdom came under some sort of attack Sunday morning between 12 a.m. and 03 a.m. Don't know what it was. No idea, but something happened. I don't know what it was, and I'm, again, when I talk about this stuff, guys, I am ex-military. I've spent a lot of time writing reports, fact-finding, trying to get to the bottom of stuff, conducting investigations. I can't explain this, guys. I genuinely can't explain it. Lone Wolf Prepper is saying, good morning, Patriots. And Lone Wolf Prepper, good morning to you, buddy. Yeah, Lone Wolf Prepper saying, hit the like button, folks. Guys, listen, you've seen how much time, you guys have seen how many bans I get. Do you know what I got banned for the other day? Do you guys know what I got banned for the other day? So let me get to the bottom of these comments. I'll tell you exactly what I got banned for, guys, okay? John Thistlethwaite is saying, I feel sorry for Tommy. He could go away for a long time for what happened. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, first of all, right, so what we're talking about here, let me put this in. So what we're talking about here is okay, there's an alleged incident. All I've seen is some guy he's asleep, this guy. He's on the floor. He's sleeping nanites. He has gone totally Baba Black Sheep sleeping nanites on the floor, guys, all right? So you've got this guy. He's asleep on the floor. Tommy Robinson storming up and down. There's a little cut on his head. I don't know what happened, guys. I don't know what's happened previously. What I do know is that all that area will be on CCTV. There will not be a centimeter of that area that's not on CCTV. 100%, guys. All right, it's St Pancras. Obviously, after the 7/7. Oh, do you know what? Maybe they can't find the CCTV. Maybe that camera was broken. Maybe that camera. Maybe they were changing the tape at that time. So what I would say is, Tommy's been through this a long. He's an old hat at this. All right, he knows the laws. He knows what he's facing. I don't think he's going to throw hands unless somebody threw hands at him first, and I think he would be well within his. That's all I'm going with, guys. But let's just consider this. Guys. Can you imagine this right now? And I'm just thinking of this, John. So, John Thistlethwaite is saying, I feel sorry for Tommy. He could go away for a long time for what happened. Absolutely ridiculous. Consider this, ladies and gentlemen. We may have a scene right now. We may have a situation in the United Kingdom right now where two people who were throwing hands at police officers, armed police officers, walk free because they claim self-defense. But then Tommy, he may have been hit first, but then knocked somebody out. He may claim self-defense, but but he may go to jail. Could you imagine that? Wouldn't that be a brilliant way? And if you want to cause division, sorry, if you want to cause division, if you want to drive that subversive iron home, that's what you do, guys. That's what you do. Silence is saying, morning, Sean, and morning all. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am on a little bit late this morning, guys. Remember, I'm banned on TikTok. In fact, I didn't tell you what I was banned for. I'm banned from TikTok, all right? I'm banned from TikTok because I gave people my opinion on how competent the Afghani soldiers were. Bear in mind, I've trained hundreds of them myself, and if you want to, around the world, like comparatively, I think that's a word. Comparatively, I've probably trained thousands of soldiers, and I was saying, like, looking at the whole scenario, I think, in my opinion, from training all those soldiers, that the Afghans are head and shoulders, below the rest. Boom! Live stream over. Hateful behavior. I was like, what? So, like, how is that? I don't know. I don't know how me having an opinion on the competency of somebody else's military is hateful behavior. But it is, and I got the live banned, guys. I did. You guys were on it. The live got banned. I got swizzled off. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is why we triple stream. Alas, we are double streaming. And you know what, guys? I might just keep to double streaming because honestly, the algorithm at the TikTok, I get so many videos banned, and it's really difficult because having to get the message out there to you guys and trying to, decode what's actually happening while I'm trying to work outsmart the algorithm, and the algorithm's forever changing. And now Keir Starmer's thrown in his little swizzle whereby the government can the government can change any legislation to whatever they want. It's ridiculous. Luke Jacobs is saying, have you seen the Trump visit interview? Oh, guys, look, well, let me give you Luke Jacobs is, I did a Boris Johnson then, didn't I? Luke Jacobs is saying, have you seen the Trump visit interview? Yes. It makes me laugh. He's got strong opinions how the UK is being run, and Starmer's looks like, yeah, look, guys, you've got to take a step back, all right? Take a step back. Remember what I said about the United Kingdom becoming part of the United States? Doesn't that sound like an out? Can you see the direction now? Because look, guys, I'd be all for it. I would be all for it right now if Donald Trump said, United Kingdom, do you want to, how about the regions of the United Kingdom vote to be part of the United States? I'd be like, yeah, I will definitely vote for that. And again, look, guys, I need to be clear. I know what's happening behind the scenes. I know who's pulling these strings. But right now, guys, I'd be happy with the tooth fairy getting us out of this mess. And I do know that this is part of subversion. I do know this is part of national ideological, international, I guess, national, international ideological subversion. So I understand all that stuff, guys. I really do. But you know what, guys? I would choose Trump over Starmer any day. And you know what? What a flex. I mean, we'll talk about a flex, all right? I mean, right, when you go to I don't know how many times this has ever happened, all right? And nobody's talking about this. I don't know how many times this has ever happened, but when you go to another country, they host you. So you go to their parliament building, you go to their monarchy, you shake hands, yada, yada, yada. Trump came to the United Kingdom and hosted Starmer. Starmer turned up like the little, like, can I say bitch? Like. So I wasn't saying he was, I was saying like. So Starmer turns up with his little rabbit tail waggling, turns up at Trump's mansion, and he's like, oh yes, I'll come to your house and have dinner. So like, the reality is, Keir Starmer didn't call Trump in for a meeting. Trump came over and called Starmer in for a meeting. And look, guys, I do know what's happening. I do know subversion, how it's working. But remember when I did that video, guys, like a long time ago? I did a video a long time ago, and I said, guys, listen, I'm seeing the footsteps here. I am seeing the direct footsteps for the United Kingdom. So I'm going to put Ireland in this as well. So this would be Ireland in its entirety, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and obviously England. So Great Britain and Ireland, all becoming part of the United States, coming under that sphere. I do, guys. I genuinely see that direction, as a direction of travel. Oh, but Air Hammond here is saying, USA, no thanks. Oh, guys, look, for me, I've got a lot of American friends, and in fact, my phone's in the house. Right, in a minute, guys, I'm going to run in the house, I'm going to get my phone, I'm going to pour myself another coffee, and then I'll be right back. But I've got a lot of American friends, and for me, it just seems like a better way of life, guys. It really does, They don't have the constraints that we have, especially places in Texas. They're a lot more self-serving. Like here in the United Kingdom, we are massively reliant on the state. We pretend we're not a socialist country, but, if you have a medical emergency, who do you go to? If you've got any problems, we're really reliant on public services. John is saying the whole The whole stew. So me and you both, friend. I would choose Trump every time. I love the way he takes the piss out of the Prime Minister watching him squirm. Yeah. Listen, guys, you know, Lone Wolf Prepper is saying President Trump owned Starmer. He did. You know, there's not, I don't know how many times, genuinely, guys, I don't know how many times a world leader, say this to yourselves, guys, just say this to yourselves, right? I don't know, right? No, say this to yourselves. Donald Trump, the president of America, came to the United Kingdom and invited the Prime Minister to his castle. Like, it's unheard of. It's unheard of. And look, guys, you know, it is what it is. You know, Trump's strong on immigration. He's strong on law. He's strong on military. Yes, he has his problems. I get that. But you know what, guys? Who doesn't? Look, guys, I'm just going to leave it there. I don't want this to be about Trump. I want to keep repeating this, ladies and gentlemen. I believe an attack happened on the United Kingdom last night, Sunday. What was it, Sunday? I don't even know. Can somebody tell me what date it was Sunday? What are we on today? The 29th. 27th, so the 28th, the 28th of this month, guys, early morning, 12 a.m., between 12 a.m. and 03 a.m., I believe there was some sort of electromagnetic pulse, solar flare, 5G. I believe something happened to the United Kingdom between those hours, guys. You know, I don't know what it was. I'm trying to investigate it. I'm trying to use the information that I've got, correlate that and put that in some sort of visualization, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've done that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the Manchester, I can smell cooking. I hope I've not left the oven on. Also, guys, the Manchester Airport brawlers, the alleged Manchester Airport brawlers, they are in court again today, and still, I'm looking now, guys, still nothing out on the mainstream, nothing out on X. No, oh, hang on, listen to this guy here. Hang on, listen to this guy.
One of them who was involved in the. I want immediate action of the police officers. Every one of them who was involved in the Manchester Airport incident, all of them arrested, suspended, tried, and jailed. Immediately, every one of them officers needs to be arrested immediately. If not, then we will go to Plan B and you will see big protests, I promise you. Protests like you've never seen before.
So there you have it, guys. You know, if all these guys are not, you know, if all these police officers, and this is from the Muslim world, if all these police officers are not arrested and suspended and gone, then there's going to be big protests as the like we have never seen before. And the video that I was showing there, it's got a split screen and it's got like the actual guys throwing hands. But look, guys, this Manchester Airport attack verdict. There's no good scenarios here, guys. There is no good scenarios, right? I'll walk you through the scenarios now, right? So, not guilty. That's the first scenario that could happen. It could come back, and the way the legal system works in the UK, guys, the longer these protests, what's the word I'm looking for? The longer these, not protests. What am I talking about? The longer these verdicts take, the longer it takes to get to a verdict, the more likely it's a not guilty. And that's just the reality, because if it was a guilty straight away, boom, there you go, you're guilty. The longer it takes, they're thinking, well, are they really guilty? Where's the law? And people, I don't know what's being said, guys. I genuinely don't. Nobody does. So I'm not gonna. You know what? I am going to speculate. I'm going to speculate wildly, because that's what you guys are here for. So first of all, there's the not guilty, right? That could happen. If that not guilty result comes out, like, how are you going to feel? Like, I know how I'm going to feel. I'm just going to start laughing. Honestly, I'm just going to start laughing. I'm going to start laughing. If it comes out not guilty, then there's going to be, people are going to perceive this as a two-tiered justice system, whereby you can throw hands at police and you're fine, that's fine. But if you shout at a dog, a police dog, and look, guys, I'll be quite clear, I love those dogs, all right? I wouldn't shout at a dog, but I don't think you should get 20 months in jail for shouting at a dog. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, that really happened, guys. That's a headline on the BBC. I'm not making that up. So that's the not guilty verdict, all right? Guilty verdict. In fact, let me just segue into that not guilty verdict as well. If that not guilty verdict does happen, then what that means is if a police officer comes to arrest you and you think he's being a bit aggressive, you can throw hands. That is literally what it means, guys. So what that would mean then, everybody who's out on the street protesting, if somebody tries to arrest them, you're being too aggressive, whack, whack, whack. No, that's it now. The police have to be nice when they arrest you. So you see where we're going with that, guys, because that opens up a whole new precedence. Summer of carnage. The next, obviously, then it could be a guilty verdict. You know, at the moment, obviously, it's just 2. So the guilty verdict would be they're guilty, all right? If they're found to be guilty, there's going to be, as we've just heard, huge amounts of people claiming racism, claiming police brutality, you know, marching, protesting, doing all the rest of it, you know, like we've seen before. And it's one of these things that I talk about quite a lot. We've not seen this year, anyway, this summer, we've not seen yet, and we will see it. We've not seen the, what should I say? People who would be on the left, the non-patriots, the secondary demographic. We've not seen a protest by those guys. And all we have to do is look at what happened in Har Hills last year, guys. It was absolutely bonkers. So you will get that. But then as an extra caveat with if they do get given the guilty verdict, then you've got to wait for the sentencing. Now, I don't know whether they'll be sentenced straight away. I don't know whether they'll come back for sentencing. I don't know how it works, guys. But look, there is no good answers here. There's no good solutions here because we have a heavily diverted, heavily subverted country. We have a heavily diluted country. It's absolutely bonkers, guys. It really is insane, the amount of carnage that's happening in the UK. Right, let me just refresh this screen, guys. Let me refresh this screen quick. No, still, oh, hang on. No, absolutely, still nothing yet, guys. Still nothing yet. All right, let me have a look on the mainstream. No, nothing yet. Absolutely nothing. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that there's nothing out on the mainstream yet. It just shows that there's an absolute media blackout on this. Absolute media blackout on that. Airport. This is from the BBC, guys. Airport trial jurors told stamp a distraction. I don't know what that means. Jurors have been urged by prosecutors not to be distracted by the kick and stamp of an officer during the fracas at Manchester Airport. Mobile phone, yeah, okay. So they're saying that, you know, people talk about this. They say, oh, the police officer shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to teach this stuff. I used to teach dynamic entry, which dynamic entry is not this is policing, but it is dynamic entry in the context of you're in a situation and you need to deal with it really quickly. And you know, when I first watched that video of the guy in the blue, when I first watched that video, I was like, right, I don't know how this officer can explain that away. And I said, look, you know, let's see the full footage. Let's put it in context to what's happened. But I don't know how that officer can explain why and how he would do that. Once I saw the whole footage, I was like, wow. If I was still teaching this stuff, guys, I would use that video as a perfect textbook example of when you can literally kick someone in the head. That officer doesn't have any other, he doesn't, what else can he do, guys? Like, what else can he do? Remember, this guy's a firearms officer, yeah? All right. So that gentleman in the blue, he's been throwing hands from behind. All right. He's been hitting people in the back of the head. He's knocked the woman out. There's blood all over her face. It's a bad situation. Now, those officers there are there to control the scenario. I heard some people saying, oh, they should have just left them. They should have just walked away. I'm like, hang on a minute. Do you really? Is that how we think policing works now? Is that Raven, we've come to arrest you. Yeah, I don't want to be arrested today. Yeah, no worries. That's not how it works. It's not how I think should it work. Anyway, look, guys, I need to throw this out there as well. I'm a veteran. I'm ex-military. You know, I want a strong military. I want a strong police force. I want a strong government, and I want a strong legal system. But that needs to be applied equally to everyone. And I don't know, guys. Look, I'm only speculating here. I've got no legal expertise in this. We need to wait to see what the verdict is. We really do. Anyway, guys, let me jump up and get these. Claire, oh, Chair is saying, Chair, that's a lovely picture you've got as well. Chair is saying, were they not bringing in a new law where different religions were sentenced differently? Yeah, I did a video on this, and I said this could be the first case of that. I don't know where that's gone, guys. I don't know where that's gone. What I do know is, if they get off, it's going to be on a technicality. That technicality is going to be, did that police officer identify himself as a police officer initially when he made that arrest? I think this is where they're going to get off, guys. All right. Did that police officer identify himself as a police officer when he grabbed him? That is going to be it's all going to jux around that. Because what they're going to argue is, and look, guys, again, I've got no legal background. I'm literally like I'm literally just like some guy in the car driving to work, just speculating. I would say if it's in the police operating handbook or something that you have to identify yourself to as a police officer to make a lawful arrest, and I don't know if it is, guys. I don't know if it is. But if that police officer never said, I'm a police officer. You see the technicality here, guys, don't you? You see the technicality. You see the technicality, don't you? Phenomenal. John is saying, I cannot honestly understand why it's taking so long. Me neither. Well, do you know what? I can understand it's taking so long because there's a likelihood of this being not guilty. Honestly, can't understand why it's taking so long. For the video evidence I saw, it is definitely a guilty. If they're found it's God help the police. That's all I can say. Yeah, exactly, guys. You know, absolutely, exactly. It's it's going to be phenomenal, guys. It's going to be phenomenal to see. This case is there is no good outcomes for this, guys. If you want peace, right? I've got a wasp. Sorry, guys, I've got a thing. We've had a few wasp nests in the house, so every time I see a wasp, it's my thing. I have to go and neutralize it. Anyway, that officer can't stay calm down, lads. Have a cup of tea. That officer can't say, yeah, exactly. So Lone Prepper here is saying, you know, the officers can't come in and say, hello, gentlemen, do you mind, Goodley, if I arrest you? I know you've committed a crime, but if you don't want to be arrested, that's absolutely fine with me. We'll look at another way of intercepting you. Doesn't work like that, guys. The legal system doesn't work like that. Jody Lee is saying, morning to you. Trigger Happy Matt. Hello, Trigger Happy Matt, with a fantastic flag as his thumbnail. With the videos of the incident, how the hell could they be found not guilty of that? If that turns out to be the case, trouble is looming. Yeah, guys, look, I think if they do get not guilty, it's going to be on that technicality. And look, guys, I've got no legal expertise in this. I'm just some guy in my little shed, I guess, in my little studio. I'm just some guy giving you guys my speculation. But I think that if they get off on this, it's going to be It's going to be on that technicality, and it's going to be. So, do you know what? Let me Google this. Let me Google this. Let me Google this. Do police officers have to? Whoa! Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, guys. I think they're going to get off with it, guys. Right. Okay. So I just put into YouTube. Not YouTube. I just put into Google. Right. Or the AI, whatever it is. Do police officers in the look, guys? I give you guys my real-time speculation. I don't know all the answers, but we get there in the end, right? Okay. So here's what I think. This is my opinion, my speculation, my analysis, guys. I've got no legal expertise, so don't nobody try and swizzle me on this. So in the United Kingdom, so I just put a question into the AI, right? Do police officers in the UK have to identify themselves to make an arrest? I'll read you the answer. Yes. In the UK, police officers must identify themselves when making arrest. They are required to state that they are police officers, inform the person that they are being arrested, explain the reason for the arrest, and clarify that the person is not free to leave. According to guys, they're getting off with it. I'm calling it now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling it now. Yeah. This is all going to go down to that the very first contact, all right? The very first contact. So the guy in blue, he's got his back turned. As soon as he puts his hand on him, because look, guys, okay, I've got to be careful. I know we're not on TikTok, but I need to be careful, all right, guys, all right? From my understanding, that as soon as that police officer puts his hand on that gentleman and he doesn't identify himself as a police officer, that's assault. I think it is. I think that's assault, guys. Wow. That's where they're going, guys. That is where they're going. Wow. This is going to be amazing. Oh my jeez. Jeez Louise. Guys, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm just reading this out, guys. All right. Do police officers in the UK have to identify themselves to make an arrest? Yes. In the UK, police officers must identify themselves while making an arrest. They are required to do so. They are required to state that they are police officers, inform the person they are being arrested, explain the reason for the arrest, and clarify that the person is not free to leave. Wow. Oh, hang on. If the officer is not in uniform, they must also show their warrant card to prove their identity. Yeah. Guys, there's a strong case on this. There is a massive, guys. Yeah. Wow. There's no good decisions here, guys. There is no good decisions on this. There is absolute. So this is what it's going to come down to. So like the kick and the stamp, that's going to be irrelevant. Like those two guys throwing hands, that's going to be irrelevant. What this is going to boil down to, I believe, is did those police officers identify themselves as police officers? Now, if the answer is yes, then I think they're guilty. If the answer is no, even though they're wearing uniform, even though they're clearly police officers, and I would assume, anybody would know they're police officers. But if the answer is no, they didn't identify themselves as police officers, that's where I think this is all going to gravitate towards. Wow. There you go, guys. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Lone Wolf Prepper is saying, did the officers have cameras on at the time? Yes, they did have cameras on at the time. That footage will have been shown. I don't know what that footage is, guys. I don't know what that footage is. I've not seen it, obviously. But it's all going to come down to the first couple of seconds of that altercation, I guess. Did that police officer say, I'm making an arrest? Or did that officer identify himself as a police officer? That is going to be on that body camera. I don't know, guys. I've not seen it. It may be illegible. He may have said that. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. There you go. There's a strong, guys, look, they could get off on this on a technicality. Wow. Can you imagine the country? Can you imagine the country? Wow. This would be like a national scandal, guys. This might be a national scandal. I mean, this is a national crazy thing. John Thistlethwaite is saying, wow, sound like you're right, even though it's perfectly obvious to me and you when you see a policeman, the law in this country actually stinks. Yeah, guys, look, I'm not saying this is right. What I'm saying is what the law is in this country. The law in the United Kingdom is, yes, in the United Kingdom, police officers must identify themselves. That's what it's going to boil down to, guys. That's why it's taking so long. I think there's a good chance that these guys get off on this. Alex Reed is saying, did you see Tommy Robinson got attacked? He not okay. So what I saw is I saw a guy laid on the floor with the. I like you guys. I've only seen what's on X. I seen a guy laid on the floor. He's totally sleeping at night, and Tommy Robinson walking up and down. So I don't know what happened. Chair says, I think they will get a suspended sentence as they won't want Muslim riots. However, this would give people, look, guys, honestly, I think there's a strong possibility they get off on this. There is a strong possibility that they get off on this, guys. I will circulate that again, guys, in a little bit, but I do want to keep checking the news. Joe Peacock is saying, can the judge overrule? No, the judge cannot overrule. Oh, and Alex Reed says, look on the Sun paper. What am I looking on the Sun paper for, Alex Reed? Can you just give me a quick update on what we're looking at the Sun paper? Right, still nothing out on the media, guys. Absolutely nothing. The longer this goes on, ladies and gentlemen, the longer this goes on, the more likely this is going to be a not guilty. Wow. Let me just refresh this. Yeah, nothing. Wow. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how you're going to feel? Can you imagine how Lucy Conley feels? Can you imagine how the man who shouted at the dog feels? So this is what we're heading towards a scenario right now in the United Kingdom where we're heading towards a situation right now, guys, in the United Kingdom where we could have a man in jail for 20 months for shouting at a dog. Didn't hit it, just shouted at a dog. And I'm not condoning shouting at dogs, guys. In fact, if anything, I would have said, mate, what are you on about? Why are you shouting at a dog? Why are you shouting at a dog? I don't think he should go to jail for 20 months for that, away from his family, away from his kids, away from his wife. I don't think that should be the case. So that's happening in the UK. And then we have alleged people, because it would be alleged, or then we also have a scenario in the United Kingdom where you can throw bombs and knock police officers out, and it's totally fine. So there you have it, guys. There you are. There you have it, the system. That is the system in the United Kingdom. Right, let me... Linda Clark, good morning, Linda Clark, is saying, morning, Sean, have I missed much? Are you taking a break from TikTok? No, Linda Clark, I'm banned from TikTok. I am banned from TikTok, guys. I got banned the other day. They banned me again. I just don't think, I don't think I'm going to stream on there anymore, guys. It's just, honestly, the algorithm is so strict when I'm streaming on TikTok. Like, I got banned from TikTok. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining for the first time, if you're just here, can you please hit those buttons, like, comment, subscribe, bell notifications down below, guys, because I really do appreciate each and every one of your likes, comments, subscribe, shares, and share my stuff, guys. That's that's the greatest thing that you can do, guys. All right, share my stuff, comment, be involved in the discussion. If you're joining just now, guys, we are talking about, I believe the United Kingdom was under an attack on the Sunday, the 27th of this month. The United Kingdom got hit by some attack. I don't know what it was. And also the Manchester airport verdict is due out today. Or it may not be. It could be out today. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It could be out today. I've just explained how I think they could get off with that verdict, guys. I think they could get off with that verdict. Belinda Clark saying, morning, Sean. Are you giving a TikTok a break? No, I'm not giving it a break. I'm banned. I'm banned. And the reason I got banned from TikTok is because I said on TikTok that I commented on TikTok about the competency of the Afghani military. That's what I did, guys. I commented on the competency of the Afghan military. What would I know? What would I know? Having trained hundreds of Afghani soldiers, having trained thousands of soldiers all around the world, having spent many years in the British military, working with all over the world, guys. Right? What would I know? What would I know? What would my opinion be worth? But apparently, if I give my opinion on that, I'm not allowed. The video gets banned. It's an absolute nightmare, guys. It's an absolute nightmare. It's a minefield. It's very difficult to navigate. But yeah, I'm not taking a break from TikTok. I've been banned. So please share my stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Please share my stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. All those things that help this channel grow. Lone Wolf Prepper is saying, I think they will get a 2-year custodial sentence. Suspended for 2 years. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm genuinely seeing the actual path now, guys. I'm seeing the path, direction, well, let's just look ourselves, right? It's all going to revolve around this. And guys, honestly, if I was sat there on the jury, and it was clear, because you've got to go by the laws, right? You've got to go by the laws, all right? Yeah, you've got to go by the laws, yeah? And in this instance, all right, look, guys, I need to keep caveating this because I don't want to get into trouble. I'm not. In fact, guys, can someone tag the black belt barrister? Because I know he'll know more about this than me. So if I was sat there on the jury, and I don't know if this is the case, but I think it is. If I'm sat there on the jury, right, and, you're told what the law is, and the law is if someone grabs you, that's assault, and you're allowed to defend yourself. I'm pretty sure that is the law, guys. I'm pretty sure that is the law. I am. So if that's the law, all right, yeah, fine. And if it's also the law, which we just identified that it is, if it's also, and it is the law, because we've just, in the United Kingdom, I'll just read you this. Yes, in the UK, police officers must identify themselves when making an arrest. So just think about this, guys. Just think about this, all right? None of the fighting matters. None of that matters. What matters is, did that officer, and this is what I think it could come down to, a technicality. Did that officer identify himself, yes or no? If he identified himself, then it is assault against police officers. It is what we all think, and it is. If that officer didn't identify themselves, I think there is a strong case there for, in that instance, he doesn't know that they're police officers. He throws hands. By the time he knows it, he's been tased and he's shaking on the floor. Like, you see where I'm going with that, guys? We all know. Like, you, me, everybody in the United Kingdom know when you look at a police officer, they've got all these signs and badges and it says police on them. We all know that they're police officers. But, maybe they don't speak English as their first language, or maybe they can't read English. I don't know. But that's the legal system that we've got, guys, all right? That's the legal system that we've got. Now, people are going to be cheering and people are going to be angry about this. And, I would say rightly so. But can you imagine now what that opens up? Anytime anyone gets arrested now, they can throw hands and just claim self-defense. Oh, you didn't identify yourself as a police officer. I did. Oh, I didn't hear you. You see the can of worms that this opens, guys. You see the can of worms that this opens. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to run into the house real quick. All right, I'm going to get a coffee. I'm going to get my phone. I'm going to be right back. Can you guys wait there a minute, guys? Can you guys wait there for 1 minute? Like, I think I'll be less than a minute because the kettle boiled a while ago and I don't have that hot water in my coffee. Literally running 2 scoops of coffee, maybe even 3. I'll be back out with my phone and we'll continue. Just wait there for a second, guys. And I am back. Thank you for waiting, guys. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate it. Linda Clark is saying, that's why I asked. I was watching when you said suddenly went. It was ridiculous. Yeah, guys, listen, if you don't know, I've been banned off TikTok. I've been banned from TikTok for giving you guys my opinion on the competency of the Afghani army. Now, I was giving that in the context of, you know how you're getting all these, like, these people, like, walking around thinking they're tough guys with, like, all the Taliban, all the Taliban stuff on and, like, doing this, doing this sort of stuff. Like, these guys forget, all right, I've trained, well, I've probably not trained them, but I've trained a lot of Afghanis, and, like, they're lacking, they lack discipline. I'm just going to put it there, guys. They lack discipline, and they don't like PT either. They don't like cardio. Four Paws is saying, what do you think the police force's response will be to a not guilty? Look, guys, honestly, like, reading this law here, I think it'll be more training. I don't think they can complain. Like, honestly, like, I don't know. I'd like to think that they would all just go on strike and say, what's the point? What's the point? What is the point? What is the point in being a police officer anymore? Miki saying, one word, silenced. Lincolnshire Templar is saying the Muslims will never get arrested again for anything after this. Yeah, why would you? Like, if you're a police officer, like, right now, and there's, like, something going on, would you be like, yeah, I'm not going to bother with that? Why? Well, I'll get in the neck. Lone Wolf Prepper is saying, mine's with 2 sugars. I don't have sugar with my coffee, guys. I don't have sugar with my coffee. Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are just joining for the first time and you've not done so already, can you please hit that like, subscribe, follow, bell notifications, like the ones down here? I know we're streaming on YouTube and we're streaming on X at the moment. You guys have seen how many of my videos get banned, how many of my live streams get banned all the time. So please show your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. Right, let me just jump up and refresh this screen because I do think that the verdict is due today, guys. So I'm just refreshing this screen. No, there's nothing out, guys. The longer this goes on, ladies and gentlemen, the longer this goes on, the more likely this is a not guilty. The longer this goes on, it is more likely a not guilty. Is there a media blackout on it? I mean, the latest I've got is from 2 hours ago. That can't be right. Oh, that's a fly. I don't mind a little fly. Oh, hang on, guys. So this is from a while ago. Judge addresses the jury and on the defendant's good character. So I'm just reading this, guys. All right? I'm just reading this. This is from an X post from Andrew Braddersley. I don't know who he is. Hang on. Let me just read this. Judge addresses the jury on the defendant's good character. The judge addresses the jury. It literally says it 3 times. He says, although good character is not a defense to anything of the charges faced by the defendant, it is relevant in 2 ways. Firstly, as the defendants have given evidence, their good character is a positive feature which you should take into account in their favour when considering whether to accept what they told you. Secondly, the fact that the defendants have not offended in the past or not been caught, either before or since, may make it less likely that they acted as the prosecution alleged. It is for you to decide how much importance you attach to the defendant's good character, and it is for you to decide the extent to which it assists the facts of this particular case. In making those decisions, you should take into account everything that you have heard about them, including the unchallenged testimonies that were read on their behalf. The judge's legal directions have now concluded. The jury has now left the court for a short break. So I'm assuming that was the last words that the I'm assuming that was the last words the judge gave to the no, it can't be because that was on the 24th. In fact, what was the 24th? Was that Friday? Yeah, I think that was, yeah, so that'll be Friday, won't it? Yeah, so that would make sense. Absolutely bonkers, guys. Absolutely bonkers. I'm just trying to find if there's anything at the moment, guys. I'm just trying to find absolutely anything that we can look at here that would be, anything that we can look at that's new. And it really does look like there's a media blackout on this. And I've just remembered I don't have to hide my coffee away anymore. I can have my coffee in full review, guys. Like even on TikTok, guys. If I've got a cup of coffee on TikTok, I get restricted for having a cup of coffee on TikTok. Right, I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about what happened now on when was it? Let me just get my calendar up. I think it was the 27th. Give me a second, guys. Calendar. Yeah. So 27th. Write this down in your calendars, guys. All right. In fact, let me write this down. Just writing this down, guys. Sunday, 27th. AM. 03 AM. Right. So at some point, I'll give you the background to this, guys, and then I'll let you guys decide for yourselves. All right. So it was about 2:00 in the morning on Sunday the 27th. So this Sunday just gone, about 2:00 in the morning. I woke up. I felt weird. I felt like I wasn't myself. I think the first thing I realized that I was awake is I was walking at the bottom of the bed. Sarah was asleep she wasn't asleep. Sarah was laid on the landing. I just wanted to get outside. It was absolutely bonkers. It felt like something so strange had happened. So the next morning we're talking. I'm like, wow, what happened last night? She's like, no idea. Now, if that had have just been me and Sarah, I'd have been like, yeah, we probably ate something funny, or, we probably ate something funny, or I don't know what. And that'd have been the end of it. But I thought my sister, and I said, how did you sleep last night? And she said, oh, God, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, I woke up, couldn't get back to sleep. Her husband, exactly the same. The dog's howling outside at the moon, but there was no moon. Bonkers. So I was like, wow. So I phoned my dad, exactly the same. Sarah's now on the phone to her, like, friends and family. How did you sleep? Literally, everybody we spoke to, exactly the same. Everybody we spoke to, guys, exactly the same at the same time. So I put the message out there on, I did a video on TikTok. I put the message out there. Look, guys, I do my own stuff. I do my own stuff. I don't follow what other people do. I literally do my own stuff. I've said ridiculous things before. I'll say ridiculous things again. But you know what, guys? That's how I roll. I did a video and I said, listen, guys, how did you all sleep last night? And the comments were phenomenal. Like, I would say 80% of those comments were, yeah, exactly the same as things that we'd felt as well. Even things I didn't mention, people putting down in the comments. So something definitely happened. And I don't think it was like, I don't think it was something like, like some people, I don't know, some people are saying, oh, it could have been the moon in retrograde or Mercury retrograde. I'm like, look, guys, I don't really know what that means. What I would say is if it's some sort of something celestial, then that would have meant that we've been through this before, and it would happen every year or every X amount of years. This was different, guys. This was different. Never happened to me before. Happened to so many people on such a scale. I don't know whether this is like the 5G towers blasting out a crazy frequency. I don't know whether it's like a non-nuclear EMP, whether the aliens are blasting. I genuinely don't know, guys. I don't know what it is. I've got a lot of data that I want to. Quantify, and I've got a lot of data I want to quantify, and I want to correlate that into some sort of legible, I don't know, visualization or something. I think what I want to do is, it's very difficult when people are doing things anecdotally. So I think I want to get all the locations first and plot them on a map, see if I can see anything from that. Once I plotted those locations on a map, I will try and get signs and symptoms, but it's very difficult to get those things. Anyway, that really happened. Also, ladies and gentlemen, today, it could happen today, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And spoiler alert, I don't think it's going to be good. The Manchester airport attackers could be sentenced today. However, the longer this goes on, the more likely this is going to be a not guilty verdict, guys, okay? The longer this goes on, the more likely this is going to be a not guilty. Now, we've just talked about this, and I didn't know this, guys. I'm not a legal expert, but I honestly, guys, I think there's strong grounds here for this to be a not guilty. I really do. I think there's strong. I mean, I've seen the footage, right? I've seen the footage. I've seen it. You guys have seen it. We've all seen it, all right? I don't think it matters. I do not think it matters, guys. I do not think that footage matters. I don't think it matters if he's, what happened. Because I think this is going to come down to a technicality whereby it's going to come to a simple question. And it's all going to boil down to this, guys. I think this is what it's going to boil down to. Did the officer identify themselves as an officer before he went to make that arrest? If the answer is yes, he's guilty. If the answer is no, I think he's not guilty. I do, guys. I think that's what they're going to get off on. I think they're going to get off on a technicality. Also, you've got to look behind the scenes as well, guys. So behind the scenes to all of this, we've got to understand that we are a heavily subverted country. So whoever the judge is, or whatever skullduggery is happening behind the scenes, you've got to understand that we are being subverted into a context where people are trying to push us into a crisis phase, into civil law. And what better way to do it than give these guys the not guilty verdict? Guys, look, I think there's a strong case for not guilty. And I only realized that today when we was on the live stream, when I just did that little, look, guys, I need to caveat this as well. I'm not a legal expert. I'm certainly not a legal expert. In fact, I've got I've got, I don't have any legal training. If it's tanks, bombs, guns, tactics, soldiers, dynamic entry, all that sort of stuff, guys, I'm all over that. Legal system, I'm not so. Sarah Edlington is saying, if found not guilty, then the laws are an ass. That poor officer got her nose broke. I agree. Sarah Edlington, I agree with you 100%, and I'm with the majority of the people in this country. I still think it's going to come down to, I still think it's going to come down, the crux of this is going to come down to a technicality. Did that officer identify themselves or not? Simple as. Did they identify themselves as not? And that's going to be on the body camera. That's going to be on the body camera. I think that's what it's going to come down to, guys. It's going to come down to a technicality. And then the guys are going to say, right, so you didn't identify yourself as an officer. No. So you weren't lawfully arresting that gentleman. You was assaulting him. You see where this goes now, guys? You see where this goes? Because he didn't identify himself as an officer, we all know that if an officer grabs you, you're like, yeah, all right, mate. Oh, yeah, I'll comply. Please don't put me in cuffs. All right, whatever. We all know that. But this is what they're getting off on, guys. This is what they're getting off on. Well, what I think the strong case for this is anyway. Linda Clark says, do you think people will be happy with that verdict? I think a lot of people in the United Kingdom will be happy with that verdict. People who potentially don't class themselves as British will be happy with that verdict. I personally won't be happy with that verdict. But looking at the legal system, guys, and I've got to be objective about this. I've got to be fair. Looking at the legal system, that's what it's going to come down to. Because but again, what this is going to do is this is going to open up a huge, it's going to open up a huge, like, it's going to open up a huge can of whoop-ass, guys. It's going to open up a huge can of whoop-ass. Because now, at these protests, if people don't want to get arrested and they throw hands at the officers, all they need to do is say it was self-defense. You didn't identify yourself. Do you see the problems here, guys? Do you see the problems? So, like, you know how they have these, what is it? You know when they call these dispersal orders? So now, honestly, the web that this is weaving, guys, of course, like, I can't even say it because it's didactically wrong. Of course, I can't even say it because that would be wrong. They are alleged to have assaulted police officers, aren't they? Because if they, guys, the more I say it, the more I think they're going to get off with it, guys. Look, guys, the more I say this, the more I run this through my head, the more I think they're going to get off with it. Wow. If that officer doesn't, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining for the first time, we're discussing right now in real time the Manchester attackers verdict. We're discussing the Manchester attackers verdict, and I'm discussing, and I'm not saying it's right by any means. I'm saying it's wrong, but I'm discussing how I think there's a strong case that these two gentlemen will get off with the not guilty. I think it's all going to come down to the body camera footage. Did that officer identify himself as a police officer or not? Nothing else matters. If he identified himself as a police officer, and look, guys, we only came to this conclusion together when we was chatting on the live stream. And I'm going to read you what it. So here's what I think it's going to come down to. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're on and you've not done so already, can you please hit that like, follow, subscribe, bell notification button down below? You guys have seen how many of my videos get banned. You've seen how many times I get blocked and restricted and all the rest of it, guys. Really does help me out, guys, okay? Share my stuff. We are going to be live. I'll be live 10 o'clock and 8 o'clock as much as I can be, guys, okay? I'll be 10 o'clock and 8 o'clock. They're my times I'm going to be on the live stream. But Linda Clark here is saying, do you think people will be happy? No, I don't. But I think people will be able to start to use, I mean, can you imagine what Elon Musk's going to think? Can you imagine what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are like? Can you imagine if this verdict is reached while Donald Trump is here and he's like, what do you mean they're not guilty? They're hitting police officers. Even I can see that. And Madame Donny, like, you know, can you imagine the carnage? But then if you look at the other side, if they're found guilty, guys, it's a crazy world we're in right now. Crazy world we're in. Yeah, 4 Paws are saying it's on the anniversary. They might have, yeah, guys, it could be the verdict today, ladies and gentlemen. It could be the verdict today. Linda Clark is saying, no would I, but it doesn't really matter because no matter what the verdict, one side is going to be angry. We shall soon find out which side. Yeah, exactly, Linda Clark. At some point, somebody's going to be angry, very angry. Miki is saying off topic, but did you hear Tom was attacked? Tom who? Tom who? Tom who? Do you mean Tommy Robinson? Do you mean Tommy Robinson? So I think what we're talking about here is Tommy Robinson. So look, guys, again, I'll be objective. What I've seen is footage of. Yeah, so what I've seen is, again, you know, it is off topic. So what I've seen is some guy sleeping at night on the floor. I mean, I don't know what happened. Maybe he went for a nap. Some guy's laid on the floor having sleeping at night. Tommy Robinson's storming up and down saying, you saw it right, you saw it right, he attacked me. What I will say to this is, Tommy, he knows the laws. He knows, I think whatever happened, he will have known himself whether he's in the law or not. But can you imagine we could have a situation right now whereby Tommy Robinson goes to jail for self-defense against this person, and these two gentlemen walk free because they're claiming self-defense against police officers? That's like, you know, that is a realistic scenario right now. It's a Dog's Life is saying, hi Raven, is it different for armed police regarding identifying themselves before making an arrest? I don't think so, but I don't think so, no. I'll give you what AI says here. You know what? So, right. So, do you know what? That is a good question. It's a Dog's Life. I will look into it. But look, guys, if you're just joining for the first time, we are talking right now about the Manchester attackers. How I'm saying right now, from information I've just got, that I think that there is a strong possibility that these guys get off with this. Now, this is going to be, they're going to be let off on a technicality. Now, let me just give you this, guys, okay? So I think this is all going to come down to, did those officers identify themselves or not? So I asked AI, do police officers in the UK have to identify themselves? And I will come on to Doug's Live in a minute. To make an arrest. AI says yes. In the UK, police officers must identify themselves to make an arrest. This includes stating that they are a police officer, informing the person that they're being arrested, explaining the reason why they are under arrest, and clarifying that the person is not free to leave. If the officer is not in uniform, so I do think armed police will come under this. If the officer is not in uniform, they must also show their warrant card to prove their identity. And this is where I think it's going to come to, guys. I think it's going to come to this as a technicality. All right, that's where I think it's going to come to. I think and I will be struggling. I will be struggling, guys. All right, because if that officer does not identify themselves as an officer, just as insane as this is, guys, as insane as this is the law, as I understand it. When he puts his hand on that gentleman's, I don't even know how it happens. When he first goes to touch that gentleman, that is assault. If he's not identified himself as a police officer, you see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? That is assault. So he throws a punch in self-defense, which is fine. You're allowed to defend yourself in the United Kingdom so far. So everything else after that doesn't even matter, because if they identify themselves, that's what it's going to come down to. But sorry, it's a Dog's Life is saying, is it different with armed police? So let me just do this, guys. Do armed police officers? Yes, in the UK, armed police officers are required to identify themselves as police officers before making an arrest, even if they are armed. while they must identify themselves, they may also communicate that they are armed and what force may be used if necessary. The specific communication may vary based on the circumstances of the arrest. So again, so thank you, It's a Dog's Life, for that. So thank you, It's a Dog's Life. So this may be where the prosecution is saying the specific communication may vary based on the circumstances. Guys, look, I genuinely see, I genuinely see a way that these guys are going to get off. And if you're sat there at the jury, trying to be impartial, and you've got a piece of paper, right? Just imagine, put yourself in this situation, guys, all right? Totally impartial, right? Forget the fighting, forget the nose breaking, forget all of that. Let's go back to right at the beginning of this incident, right? Did that officer identify himself? No. Okay, right. So that person is not making a legal arrest. When he puts his hand on him, that's assault. It is. That is the law. That person is then legally allowed to defend themselves because they're being assaulted. And then everything else that happens after that doesn't even matter. I think that's where it's going, guys. I think that's where it's going. I really do think that's where it's going. Anyway, who knows? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Let's not speculate too much. Let's wait till we get some. Information out. Right. Let me give another swizzle on this. Let me give another update. See if I refresh the screen. Oh, hang on. So we've got 18 minutes to go. Right. So no, it's nothing really. It's just. Somebody just put a comment on, it's nothing. It's no update, really. No update, really, guys. No update, really. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Manchester airport attackers. How I think there is a strong case for these two guys to get let off on a technicality. I really do, guys. I don't agree with it. I think it's ridiculous. That's the legal system. And you've got to imagine now, you sat there, in the I don't know where they're sat. They're stood up, walking around, eating pizza, sausages. I don't know. In a room somewhere, and somebody's saying, right, the law in the UK is if somebody assaults you, you can defend yourself. That's the law. If a police officer does not identify themselves as a police officer, that is an illegal. That's an illegal arrest. So in that context, I think they're going to get off with it. In that context, I think they're going to get off with it. The argument to that would be they're blatantly police officers. Now that works for you and me, but this is not in the. This is not in the. This is not in the, what's the word I'm looking for? This is not in the legal system. It's not in the legal system the legislation, I guess. The law is that police officers have to identify themselves. Anyway, easy peasy cooking. Easy peasy cooking. What do you cook, easy peasy cooking? He's saying, I like there would be random people walking around the airport pretending to be a police officer. Given the circumstances, did they have to identify themselves? Easy peasy cooking. I don't know. And this is what the prosecution, I guess, would argue, that they're blatantly dressed as police officers. There's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them or whatever. But, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters because it's going to come down to that technicality and it's going to come down to that question. Everything is going to put down to that question. Did that police officer first say, I'm a police officer? And that's going to be on the body cameras. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he did or not. But that's why I think the jury's taking so long, guys, because first you've got this carnage that's happened. All this carnage, and he blatantly knows that look, guys, like if that was me and I saw police officers, I would know that they were police officers. But the law in the UK is that police officers have to identify themselves before making an arrest. And if you don't identify yourself as a police officer, then it's not a lawful arrest. So you can defend yourself. Look, guys, this is going to open up this is going to open up a huge, this is going to open up a huge can of worms, guys, because now anyone who doesn't want to get arrested, they just throw hands and say they didn't tell me he was a police officer. Hang on, somebody just put a comment there. Yeah, Four Paws is saying there is still the first assault in Starbucks. So maybe they'll get done with that one because that's very difficult to. But as far as the police officers go, guys, as far as those police officers go, I see a strong case that they don't get done for that. With the one in Starbucks, I mean, it may be the case that he gets suspended. Oh God. We were saying this, weren't we? We were saying these guys are never going to. Can you imagine how angry people are going to be? Like, can you imagine right now, guys? Just put yourself in this scenario right now. I've done this quite a few times. You're there, you're sat at home, or wherever. You're in your mid-20s. You and your girlfriend, you've just got married, or you've got 2 kids. You know, you're the nuclear family. You've just moved into that new housing estate. You've both got jobs. The house was at the top end of your budget, but you wanted to live there. You wanted your kids to have you wanted that for your kids. You've done everything right. Literally everything. You pay your taxes. You're seeing masses of uncontrolled migration now. The government have bought houses on your street, and they're turning them into temporary houses of multiple occupancy. So that's dragged your price of your house down. So now you're in negative equity. The place that you work, they're having to cut people. They're having to let people go because the laws in the UK, the tax laws now, whereby the government are taxing their employers, they're just making it impossible for people to employ people. So you've done nothing wrong. You or your girlfriend or your wife are just being unemployed. So now you're unemployed. 6 weeks holidays are here. Kids are off school. You're off work because you've had the sack. You know, your wife or your husband, they've got time off because they booked it and you guys were planning on going on a holiday, but you can't afford to go on that holiday now. You're wondering how you're going to pay the bills, and you're watching this. You're watching the footage of these 2 guys throwing hands. You're watching the footage of these 2 guys throwing hands, and then the jury comes out and says, "Yep, not guilty," or whatever. Whatever the result would be. Can you imagine how people are going to feel? John Young is saying, "My opinion is that the longer the jury is out, then the more deliberation could go anywhere, I think." So I'm thinking, guys, the longer the jury is out, the more likely this is going to be a not guilty. The longer those guys are out, I think the more likely this is going to be a not guilty. To me, this was a cut and shut case, but now we've explored it a little bit. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm not convinced it's as cut and shut. I'm not as convinced that this is like a closed case as it could be. I will keep updating you guys in a minute. Linda Clark is saying, "What time are the footballers going on their homecoming thing?" Bet that will be when they give the verdict, the distraction, everybody will be celebrating. I don't know though. Are we talking about the girls? Matt Tube Matt Tube is saying it's getting really bad in the UK now. Yeah, it is, exactly. It's getting really bad. At what point is the Americans going to give us some sort of visa, refugee status to move to the United States? Because I don't know, guys. I think I'd be considering that. I really would. From now is saying, "Wonder what have happened if there was all Muslim police officers." Well, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Look, guys, listen. I think this I think there's a strong case, ladies and gentlemen. I do. I think there's a strong case for this. A strong case. I think there is a strong case for this case. Certainly the assault. Certainly the attacking the police officers. I think there's a strong case for those guys to get off with that. You know, like how can you resist? How can you be charged? For example, how can you be charged with resisting arrest if the arrest was illegal? You see where look, guys. I'm just telling you my understanding of the law. And look, guys, I'm not. You know, I need to keep saying this. Being under no illusion, guys. I am not a legal expert. Right. Let me just try and get an update on this, guys. Yeah, nothing on the mainstream, guys. Absolutely nothing on the mainstream. Nothing on X either. Nothing on the 36 minutes ago. Yeah, it's just comments, guys. It's just comments. It's just there's nothing's being released officially. Let me have a look at. Let me see if I can do Liverpool Crown Court. Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing on the mainstream. Nothing on the mainstream. Nothing on X. It's going to come out, ladies and gentlemen. It will come out at some point. Be under no illusion. This will come out at some point. There's no, there's no way that it has to happen at some point, guys. All right. They have to be, the jury have to make their decision at some point. Like I said, guys, the longer this goes on, the more likely the more likely I think that this is, the more likely this goes on, the more likely I think that this is going to be a not guilty. Certainly, the first offence, which we want to talk about, the first offence, which was at Starbucks, that first offence, I think that's pretty cut and shut. Again, who knows? Look, there's two offences here, though, isn't there? There's the initial offence and again, the gentleman may not have pressed charges. I don't know. There's the first offence in Starbucks, and then there's the second offence alleged offence by the ticket machine or whatever. Guys, we could be looking at a situation where these guys get a not guilty to assaulting police officers. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Putzinator is probably going to be 2-tier judging now in UK. Yeah, and look, guys, like whether you think the law is right or wrong, and I've got to be objective here, guys. After reading the law, I genuinely see the strong argument that these guys could be, that the jury could come back with a not guilty. I really do, guys. I see a strong case that the jury could come back with a not guilty verdict. Now, that's from me looking at the laws. Now, if that does happen, there's going to be a lot of people in the UK who are not looking at the laws and thinking, "Oh God, yeah, that is actually a technicality. That falls into that bracket." And people are just going to see a perceived 2-tier justice system, and people are going to look at this and they're going to say, "Hang on a minute. We literally." Let me read it. Let me give you this headline, guys. Let me give you this headline. Let me get this up because you won't believe this. I have to. Right, so here's the headline, ladies and gentlemen, from 20th of August last year. So I'm not making this up, guys. I'm not making this up. Man jailed for shouting at police dog. A father of 3 who shouted at a police dog and used slurs has been jailed for 20 months. I'm not making that up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making that up. I'm literally reading that from the BBC. All right, so that's what we've got. In the United Kingdom, you can get 20 months. I'm not making it up. I'm reading it from the BBC. Maybe they're making it up. I don't know. I wasn't there in court. I don't know what that guy shouted in Bristol Court, that Bristol Crown Court. So in the UK, you can get 20 months for shouting at a dog. There you go. 20 months in jail for shouting at a dog. However, with the legal system that we've got, if you attack police officers, there is a strong case right now, guys, and obviously we don't know the verdict. We've just talked about this. We just talked about how they could get off on a technicality. I don't know the verdict, but there is a strong argument, certainly in my mind, thinking about this objectively, that you can attack police officers, throw hands at them, and you get not guilty. That's the reality, guys. That is the reality. I'm not making that up, right? I'm not sat here like making things up. I'm giving you guys, I'm giving you guys what I'm seeing on here, guys, okay? Linda Clark is saying, but ordinary people won't be happy. No, I agree with that. As you say, it will be a precedent for future arrests, yeah. So as Linda Clark's saying here, this is going to open up a precedence now. So what criminal, do you know what? Everybody is going to know this now. Everybody will think, oh, right, okay. So if somebody comes to arrest me, and think about this, guys. Think about the backlog in due course that this would take, right? Think about this, right? If this comes off as not guilty, right, because those officers didn't identify themselves, that precedence is open then. So everybody now, all criminal, let's just say criminals. So everyone any criminal now who gets arrested, if they want to throw hands and chance their luck at escaping, all they need to do is say, oh, yeah, you didn't identify yourself as a police officer, so that's why I threw hands. Look, what month are we on? It might be August when this gets out. July 2025, these guys got let off because this didn't happen. The precedent's been set, so that's fair enough. Oh, right, yeah, off you go. Yeah, it is crazy, guys. It is crazy. Potts in 80 is saying, either way, what the verdict is, the carnage that's going on in England at the moment will get a hell of a lot worse. Yeah, it will. It will, guys. Whatever the verdict is, guys. And when I started this live stream, before I came to the realization that these guys may actually get off on that, when I started this, and we started talking about this, I was saying, look, guys, the two options are guilty or not guilty. Pretty cut and shut. You don't get a middle ground. So if it's guilty, then we have to wait for the sentencing. See what comes with that sentencing. If it's not guilty, you can imagine the perceived two-tier policing system. And I would argue that, if they get off on a technicality, I can see the argument, guys. I really can. I can, trying to be objective, not being biased. I can see the argument. So that's what it's going to come down to. Did the police officers identify themselves as police officers before they made the arrest? No. Not guilty. Yes, guilty. That's my perception anyway, guys. Remember, I'm not a legal expert. I've got no legal training or background. I'm just some guy looking at, I'm just some random guy on the internet looking at, with AI, looking at what the UK law says. But either way, guys, all right? If they get guilty, there's going to be a massive amount of protests from a certain community. If they get not guilty, there's going to be a massive amount of tensions from people who perceive this as two-tier policing. And, like I said, right at the beginning of this live stream, guys, I said, look, guys, there's no way that, there's no easy decisions here. There's no easy way. There's no decision here, or there's no verdict here that's like a good one for everyone. It's a divisive verdict, whatever happens. Also, guys, listen. You know the title to this live stream. The attack happened. Something happened in the United Kingdom on the morning of Sunday the 27th between 12 a.m. and 03 a.m. in the United Kingdom. I don't know what it was. Something crazy happened. Lots of people felt the same thing. People were getting up. People were walking around the house. People felt uneasy. I did a video about this. And the comments went crazy with people saying exactly the same, guys. People were saying exactly the same. I am going to look into this. I'm going to try and investigate this as best I can. Oh, hang on. I think there's been an update. Give me a second. No, nothing. Just a comment. Yeah, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to read the comments, guys. I'm not going to read the comments. It's just what people are commenting. But there's nothing out of the mainstream. Look, guys, what time are we on? So they'll have broke for lunch now. I think they'll come back at 1 or something. So we're not going to get anything till like 1 or half 1. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely insane what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on and you're watching and you've not done so already, can you hit the like, subscribe, comment, bell notification, all the buttons to help this channel grow, guys. You've seen how many of my videos get taken down. You've seen how many of my live streams get banned. I'm double streaming today. We usually triple stream. I can't triple stream today because I've been banned from TikTok. I've been banned for giving my objective opinion on the state of the Afghan military. That's what I got banned for, guys. That's what I got banned for. I got my live taken down, so I don't think I'm going to live stream on TikTok anymore, guys. The algorithm is too strict. Again, you know, I try to be as objective as I can, and I certainly don't feel like I'm overtly offensive to people. I try to be quite fair to people. But that's where it is. Right, guys, I'm going to go around this again and just see where we are because I don't think we're going to get a result today. I really don't get a result today. I really don't think we're going to get a result today. No, I don't think we're going to get a result today. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I'm going to close this down. I am going to be back on. I'm going to try to be back on at 8 o'clock tonight. Hopefully we've got an update. Hopefully we've got some more information. There is a media blackout on this, I feel, guys. I feel there's a media blackout on this. Remember what we said earlier, guys, all right? I think they're going to get off on this on a technicality because I'm not sure, and I don't know the answer to this, guys, but if the arresting officer did not make himself known as an officer, do the police officers in the United Kingdom have to identify themselves to make an arrest? Yes. In the UK, armed police officers are required to identify themselves before making an arrest. That's what I think it's all going to boil down to, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's where it's going to come to. I don't agree with it. It is what it is. That's the law. If these two gentlemen get off, you can imagine the fun and games that are going to happen in the United Kingdom. And as well, as a back burner, as a contributing factor, you've got to understand that the United Kingdom is being heavily subverted at the moment. By who? By where? What are the means? I don't know, but I do see a path towards the United Kingdom becoming part of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go now. I'll be back at 8, and I'll see you later.